This is the video review of Transformers Generations 30th Anniversary Beast Wars Deluxe Class Waspinator, and this guy is actually pretty cool. I don't know if I think his Wasp mode looks better than the Wasp mode of the original Waspinator mold. I think the posture looks better because it's got a curve to it, whereas the original one was just sort of a straight figure. So the posture looks better, but I feel like the original one was better at dealing with a kibble. Now, I'm not saying this kibble is bad. It's not great, but it's all the right color where it is, and it makes him a little bit too thick, but it's not too bad. It's just a little bit too boxy. If they had made it so this were a bit more rounded, I think it would have been a lot easier to deal with, or maybe if the head had been a little bit bigger. My two biggest complaints about this robot mode are the legs, or about this beast mode, is the legs up here just kind of bowed out of nowhere. These legs down here make sense because they come from the very bottom of the figure where the legs actually come from, but these come from the middle to the kind of upper portion of the insect mode, so they're kind of random how they come out from the top there. And the other problem I have is you can see Waspinator's face in there, and there's nothing you can do to hide it. The head here is, it can't go up anymore. It kind of can, but not if everything is locked together how it should be. And you can't turn Waspinator's head around either, because then it doesn't fit together when you start folding it into the Wasp mode. So those are my two biggest problems, but otherwise it's a very nice Wasp mode. I like the way it looks, and if you don't think about the legs showing here as opposed to, say, down here where they would actually make sense, just on the shelf, it looks very nice. I really like the way it looks. It's got great coloring, great molding. It's just a really nice Wasp mode. I like that, the little Predagon symbol there. For gimmicks in this mode, his wings can flap. It's pretty nice. It's a spring-loaded gimmick, not a gravity-loaded gimmick, so if you hold them like this, you'll still keep the wings back. I would have actually preferred just wings on ball joints so they could be posed. Although they are on ball joints, it's just you can't bring the wings forward. They're just, this is all the range you get, basically. And also, it makes it kind of hard to, say, pose the wings a little bit like this. Although you don't have much range, so it's not that big of a deal. But if you tried to pose it, then you activate the gimmick, which is kind of annoying. But regardless, it's not bad. For posability, you can move the wings around a little bit on these ball joints. These can rotate around 360 if they don't bump into the wing. And these can move around 360 if they don't bump into the legs here. And they have a little bit of side-to-side movement there. Otherwise, that's about it. It's a pretty static Wasp mode. I actually wouldn't expect much out of it. If, say, we got like a Masterpiece Waspinator, I would expect him to have a rear end here that kind of hung down a little bit, and you might be able to bend it a little bit. But otherwise, this is I wouldn't expect anything more from this than this from a Waspinator. It's a very nice mode. Now, to transform this is pretty simple. Just fold the wings back, and I like to fold the wings around like this and up. This kind of locks them together so that they don't flop around on this gimmick because they bump into each other here. And it keeps them out of the way, up and out of the way from, so you can grab them from around here without bumping into the wings when he's in robot mode. So next what you'll do is you will pull the hands out to the side. That will partially unlock the legs, and then you will get these little legs out of the way. Then you rotate the feet down, and that will detab the toes from his throat, from these little tabs in there. And then you can take the rear section and bend it back. Take the legs, bring them down, fold up the bug leg along its side, open up the feet, like this. And then what you will do is you will take this little green section here, pop it up, rotate it around. And at first I thought this was going to be on the ball joint, but it's not. It's this entire brown post rotates around, and then this is on a hinge right here. So at first I was going to be I was worried that this joint was going to get really loose and floppy over time because it's a main structural joint on the ball joint, but it's actually not that bad. It has some longevity to it. And then you will take this and you will push it into the what will be the abdomen. Now, this does not lock into place. It just kind of frictions into place, where the friction from this joint down here and the friction from these two sides sandwiching around this little thing right here. The leg joints here aren't very tight. They're tight enough to hold the figure up, but they really can't be tighter than they are, or else then moving the legs would just cause this to move down. So if you're going to tighten the legs, make sure you tighten this joint down here, and put some material like a little small, thin layer of super glue or a thin layer of future floors on this segment right here. So when you push that up, and that will stay pretty well. Excuse me. And then what we'll do to transform the upper body is we will rotate the arms out like this, and then we will pull the arms, push the arms into the body here. And the way that it's hooked is this arm is hooked to this side of the head, and this arm is hooked to this side of the head. And what this looks like is when you push them in, it separates the head out and reveals a little bit of robot detail in there. And then when you start folding this forward, that reveals his head. You will push this in, and then there's a little tab in there that will plug into right there. Now, when I first got this guy, I thought that this would cover this thing a bit more and keep it into place, but because it almost looks like it does, but it doesn't really. So you really should think about doing something to tighten up this pelvis piece. And then all you need to do from here is rotate the arms down. And do what you want with the legs. I usually just leave them down like this so that when I'm trying to grab the upper arm here, they don't get in the way. And this is Waspinator in robot mode. While I don't know if I like the beast mode more than I like the original beast mode of the original Waspinator mold, I know I like this robot mode so much better because it really looks like he did in the show. It has a nice wide wasp head that takes up his whole chest. The separator in the middle isn't too big. It's nice and rounded. The detail of the middle chest and pelvis area looks right. And the really big thing for me is that his stinger section here actually hangs back from his body rather than being straight down behind his leg. So he actually gets some backward leg movement. Not as much as I might like, but he gets some. And otherwise he's the same, although his like his legs and stuff and arms look basically the same, but his head looks amazing. That is a really good head. Now I might like a little bit more yellow on it, or just a little bit more detail, but otherwise that looks really spot on. It's actually got some pretty decent light piping too. Now let's see, for weapons you can take his stinger off, and this is neat how this works. So that it fits in the kind of small space that they have here. The stinger is this small thing, but then unfolds into a slightly larger thing. I'm not sure I like how they use the clear plastic here because it makes it look smaller than it is. But it does look nice and fairly accurate, and it would be, it just pops out. It would be kind of easy to either paint or maybe dye that to a darker color. And that would also make it look better in Wasp mode because then the stinger would be darker. Anyway, this is Waspinator with his gun. It's a nice looking gun. It looks show accurate. Now for Poseability, his arms will rotate around 360. They're on ball joints, go in and out. Ball jointed elbow, so forward and back, rotate above the elbow. And then his hands are on rotator joints here. I'm not sure why they are. There's no reason because it doesn't use a sword and it doesn't really help his gestures much, but it's there. The head is ball jointed. It rotates around 360 degrees. And he can look up, so he can do a flying pose. Legs go forward, back a little bit, in, out, rotate above the knee. And unfortunately, that's all the knee bend he gets, and I don't know why that's all he gets, because if you look, there should be room for him to bend more, but there's a little bit of plastic stopping it. I don't know if that's there to make it so that he is more sturdy or what, but it is unfortunate. And then for his feet, they can bend down, and then the heels can bend up, so you can get his feet to support him in more wild poses. And the heels are really nice because they're nice and long, and because they can bend down, it helps him deal with all this weight on his back. So I really like this Waspinator. He is a really cool looking figure. He's got a nice transformation. The Wasp mode looks okay, but the robot mode is where he really shines. This is where the modern engineering really makes the sacrifices of the Wasp mode really count, because he is just an amazing looking figure. He has lots of posability, lots of stability. He doesn't have anything really blocking anything except for on his knees. He's just a really nice figure, and I really recommend him. If you can find him, get him. So anyway, this has been a review of Waspinator. I review Power Rangers, Transformers, Macross figures, lots of stuff like that. If any of that sounds interesting, please subscribe. Be sure to check the video description for any important relevant links like our Facebook page. And thank you for watching.